We're chasing comedy, working on jokes, working on bits, seeing what sticks, seeing what stinks. We're chasing comedy, politics and current events, cultural shifts and psychological bents, the daily news, your grandpa's views, conspiracy theories, trending Google queries. Either way, it's all okay. We're chasing comedy. So listen up and we'll lay it all out, whether you're seeking wisdom or zoning out. Have your fill, it's all just for the mill, with Brian and Dustin, and we're chasing comedy. We're Brian and Dustin, and we're chasing comedy.
You look, you seem a little disheveled today. I love it. You have like a painter vibe. I like it. That's what I was saying.
Me?
Yeah, you look like, you have to finish up your your painting.
Can you hear this talking?
I can hear you talking. Yes.
No, not me. Can you hear something else?
What's happening? Are you getting voices in your head? It may not be.
Yes,
You might just be crazy. I think you might just be losing it. May not have anything to do with tech.
You can't imagine what I'm hearing right now. There's all kinds of weirdness in my headphones.
Oh, I know. I heard about your upbringing last week. Are you ready? You good?
It was Spotify was playing through my headphones.
Oh, a little Hall & Oates while you're trying to
I wish.
Podcast man.
I think it sounded like Tucker Carlson.
Oh yeah. I love a little Tucker on Spotify. Well, you must have been listening to it. So
no, I don't know. That sounded like him. I don't know what it was doing on I disown that completely. Anyway,
sure you do. I see how. This works.
Yeah, sure you do.
See how this works.
God! All right. So how are we doing?
We're good. Did you enjoy the Super Bowl? How fun was that to watch the Eagles dominate?
Just enjoyable watching. I was amazed watching Kansas City flustered, and after watching them just be so frustratingly dominant over everybody, to see them inept, bumbling and screwing up and having him get sacked. Oh my God, it was amazing to watch.
It is crazy. It's kind of like, when you see like a famous TV comic, kind of bombing on stage. It's just like,
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you're human. Okay, cool. I was just making sure.
It was really remarkable to watch. Like, I'm like, wait a minute. You guys are invincible. Like, every time they sacked him over and over again. I couldn't believe it. That never happens to him.
It was very New York Giants, Patriots, Eli Manning vibe, where it's just like nobody picked him. Everybody picked the Chiefs, and they showed up. And I loved it. I loved watching it. Yeah. I do like more of a nail biter game. So, you're just
like
a blowout. A blowout is a little, unless it's your team.
Yeah, that was
obviously. If it's your team, then it's phenomenal. But if it's not your team, you're like, It's just like
I was at a Super Bowl party, and a friend of mine they had these weird bets, people have they have these weird bets and if the quarter ended 0, anything with 0, and the other team had 4, or something at the end of their number, 14 or 24, or the number 4 if they have 2 safeties, or 34 to 0, he won $1,000.
Oh my goodness!
So that made and he actually won $1,000 the first quarter or second quarter. Right. So he won $1,000, and then if it flipped, like in the next quarter, if they scored 8 or 7 or something like that, and they did, so he won another $500. Look, it was the craziest.
That's a pretty good Super Bowl party. Usually when I do that, it's like $2, cards you put in a hat, and maybe you get $20 if you're lucky. Like you're really rolling with some high stake. High stake gambling over there.
But it made the game more interesting, because it was a very boring game for the most part, except for in terms of like the score, and it was a bit of a blowout. But it made oh God, it's like 2 minutes to go, and then they scored and screwed up, and he would have won another $250, and then they scored with 2 minutes, that bomb that Mahomes threw. That was like, oh, if he had 2 more minutes, if they hadn't scored, he would have won another $250, and then they scored, and it was like, no,
That was great.
So
The halftime show was interesting. When I was thinking about it, where I love the idea of hip hop because hip hop is like you just hold on to a grudge and throw out, some sort of kind of spite and hate, and you can get a Grammy and make millions of dollars. You know what I mean? Like it's one of the few crafts that you can kind of like, have this beef
that monetizes vengeance.
This beef with another artist and then make all this money off of it. Whereas stand-up comedy, it's like you have beef with another comic. You may not work the Comedy Store. You might lose an agent, but nobody's like, you know what I mean? Like I want to start a beef with like a comedian so I can, just
a random
make millions of dollars.
Random beef.
Yeah, like hey, Mark Norman. Yeah,
That's really funny.
Give Norm Macdonald his voice back.
Yeah, right. That's really funny. That's really funny. Like that would be really funny to like slip in a diss track on your CD.
Like, hey, Steve Martin, you're getting old. You're mild and crazy, huh? Am I right?
Come Whoa.
Whoa, I'm a little crazy, but not
That's
quite.
Right. It's like an East Coast, West Coast rapper thing.
Dave Chappelle, we get it. You're not going to wear a dress. Get over yourself.
Right. But since a lot of what comedy is dissing anyway, I guess that's like not, they don't think that that's
well, so is hip hop. Hip hop is about coming in hard on society.
No, I know that, but comedy isn't. Comedy is about dissing anyway. Like in terms of like a personal dissing, like this guy's an idiot or that guy's an idiot or roasts and all that stuff. So it's like for whatever reason.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. I think I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it work. So who else can I make fun of?
Well, who's it going to be? That's the question.
Bill Burr. Yeah, whatever. I knew you when you were Billy. Stop pretending.
Okay, so that's good. Let's decide who you should beef with.
I'm doing it.
I know. Well, we got Bill Burr. We're nominated. We got Mark Norman.
You're
nominated.
Who do you got? We're not listing it like that. I'm just kind of freestyling it. Who do you got? Who are you going to make fun of? Who do you got?
Let me think. Who's a good? Who's the kid with the keyboard that plays the keyboard?
Bo Burnham. Is that his name?
Yeah. I want to start a beef with Bo Burnham.
Yeah, I think that's a smart one.
Yeah, because Bo is so good, and I'm really tired of it. Right, I'm really sick of it.
Yeah. Well, I remember Mark Maron said something about they were on a show together, and it was like one of those. Paul Provenza had a show, and it was called The Green Room, and and like it was Mark Maron and a bunch of dudes or whatever, and they were all kind of like sitting around talking about comedy, and I guess Mark Maron didn't really know who he was, but he knew that he was like the next guy or whatever, and then Bo went up to perform at the end of the show, and then I think Mark said something like, Oh, you do musical comedy. Okay. He's basically like, all right, I'm not that impressed. Like,
I remember that. I remember seeing that.
Basically like, no. Okay. Oh, okay. I see what's happening.
Yeah. But didn't somebody on that show or episode say something like, this kid's a prodigy or something? I vaguely remember somebody.
Well, yeah, it was something like that. But it was the funniest part was just, to me, was just Mark Maron dismissing him because it's musical comedy, which is great.
Yeah. He brought out his keyboard and Maron just thought it was, a guitar act.
Yeah, basically.
That's really funny.
So yeah, I don't know who else can I make fun of. Jeff Dunham, let's go after that guy. It's like you're too old to be playing with puppets. Like
I'm going to take on Angel Salazar.
Yeah, he died, right?
I know, yeah.
Wow, that's a low blow when you hit a guy when he's dead.
No. I think that's a safe bet because you know what I mean. Yeah. You're not going
because it doesn't come back from the person. It just maybe the fans.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just joking. Like obviously, because Angel Salazar had a reputation for going to, like in the comedy condos where people would go on the road, and you would hear stories like, "Oh yeah, they he trashed the room," or he's the guy who drank so much that they took away the 50% liquor a discount for comics. You'd hear like crazy stories, and like I don't know, I heard one or two that in Atlantic City or something, that Angel Salazar is the reason why we don't have a comedy condo anymore. So,
I love that. I think comics should self-sabotage. I think they should screw it up for the rest of the comedians. I think that is the rock and roll of what this art is. So it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh. I told you that story about the guy that put the meat in his backpack. Did I tell you that story? I tell you that story, right? I didn't tell you that story. The guy that he was a comedian. He was a Canadian comic, and he's in New York now. He plays places you play and stuff. Yeah. But he was basically, I guess they had a free buffet, for the comics. And
I did remember this now. Yeah.
And he put a whole roast beef in his backpack. And then he took off and whatever. So they stopped doing the buffet for the comedians or whatever. Yeah. And then every time a comedian comes to do the gig, they say, "We used to have a buffet, but then this comic," and they roll the tape and they show every comedian this guy stealing off the video footage, stealing the roast beef and putting it in his backpack.
We need a name.
You know him well. You're friends with him. But it's the funniest thing. It's
you got to tell me off the air.
Maybe you're not friends with him. I don't know. He plays the same place as you play. I don't know.
All right.
But it's not. Okay. It's more about. But I think it's But that's what it happened. That's what happens. Comics always ruin it for everybody else.
Yeah, totally.
There's always I think it was this guy, Angry Bob, which that is not a guy I want to beef with. I think I would actually have a real beef with this guy because he's the only one that would have come back at me. But I remember he used to eat so much that they would stop, these little one-nighters, they would stop giving us food because he'd order 4 entrees.
Yeah. So I always thought that was like it's like seeing, how they ban card counters in Vegas.
Yeah.
And then they should do that with really overweight people at it's for an all-you-can-eat buffet. They shouldn't allow, you know what I mean? Because they've cracked the system. Those people know how to eat, so they are going to ruin it for everybody else. So they have to ban them. You're just really good at it. If they sat down with a really big fat guy and said, "Listen, you're not allowed to eat here. We're banning you because you're too good at this." It's not an insult. We're just saying you've mastered. You're like a card counter. You're like Rain Man. You're only with food. We don't want you here. We can't have you.
Yeah, I mean they're just underestimating. People in general. They're saying most people aren't going to eat that much or whatever. I don't know. I like watching the buffets. So I like watching people just gorge themselves, and then it's a beautiful thing because I think it's
Which leads me to a joke. Finally,
what do you got?
Because I have this joke that's sort of semi almost working now. I don't like those, that's like, how every comedian does a metaphor where they go, that's like a guy doing this, and it's because we all do that. It's a part of comedy. Yeah. But sometimes, that's like if I did this, it would be like that. But I do like those when they're really clever. Sometimes you'll see a really clever one, but sometimes they can be hack or whatever. But if you get a really good one. So a guy not laughing at a comedy club, I'm going to go to a comedy club and not laugh. We've talked about this before.
Yes,
but I said I'm going to go to a movie and not watch. I put on headphones the wall, and then, but I couldn't get the second one. And I finally figured it out. It's like, I'm going to go to an all-you-can-eat buffet, and I'm going to start an intermittent fast. Okay.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that to me is really funny. The wording is so extensive. I couldn't figure out whether the first part should be, I'm going to start an intermittent fast at an all-you-can-eat buffet. But no, that didn't work. So I flipped it. And it's like, I'm going to go to a comedy club and I'm not going to laugh. I'm going to go to all-you-can-eat buffet and I'm going to start an intermittent fast. I don't know why that's funny.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, brand recognition is always funny, too. Golden Corral always makes me laugh as a name.
Right. Yes.
I'm going to go to a Golden Corral and get a minute fast.
People knew that was an all-you-can-eat. Yeah, it's great. I love the name of that. A rodeo you can eat.
Yeah, because it's corral. Because if you look at the parking lot, it is a corral of beasts.
Absolutely. Yeah. It sounds like livestock. It really does. That's what's funny about that.
That is
Golden Corral. It's just really connotes the name there.
I love it. I had a funny moment where it was just like, I feel like as men and as men who have, significant others in their lives and partners or whatever, I feel like you always want that person to see you as like this sexual being, as like a rock star, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have like a moment that really brings you back down to where you are in life. And the other day I was like, I woke up kind of groggy. I think I had like a muscle relaxer, which any sort of drug it puts me out. And, I have to be careful what I do because my body's so pure, And so I woke up kind of groggy, and then I was about to take the dog out, and I always put this harness on our one little dog, and I couldn't quite get it. And I was just like, I just couldn't figure it out. And say, I was like, Leah, could you do this? And then she's like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I just can't get it today. And she's like, are you okay? You okay? She's like, name the first 5 presidents. I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, and I got to like 2, and I was like, what am I trying to get her to Harvard? I'm just trying to walk the dog. And she's like, are you having a stroke? Count to 5. And I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I was so it's like she was doing like a stroke test to make sure that I wasn't, and it's, and it was just the funniest moment to me because I was just like, just like, yeah. So I was like,
that's really funny.
Yeah. So I was just like, I got a stroke test. I'm just, who could name the 3rd president? Like, I'm just trying to get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was
kind of random.
Yeah.
You should who are the 2 guys who played Darren on Bewitched,
yeah. Well, or ask
why
me
not just that?
Yeah, or ask me something that I am into. You know what I mean? Like, ask me like 5 Steelers, or or just like 3 country artists that didn't win Grammys or whatever. Like, just give me something I'm into. Which I thought was very funny. Like the
3 drummers in a band.
Yeah.
Like, who was the 3 drummers?
5 presidents. I don't know. I just thought the idea was so funny, and I laughed, really hard at just like. And then I kept the whole day. I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm like trying to,
Oh, but that is funny. There's something really funny about if you pick the right topics that I got it. I was having I was flaming out the other day. I was doing something, and my girlfriend gave me a stroke test. She was like, "Are you okay? Name the 5 presidents." I said, that's kind of random. Name the 5 girls on Sex and the City, or 4 girls, whatever, just
I guess should I say stroke test up top, because I feel like I have to get to it so people know what I'm doing. Yeah,
stroke test is the key thing to set up the whole, and then you go, okay, Samantha, okay, I'm taking you to the hospital. You can't, you know what I mean? Or we're going to the hospital. What are the Golden Girls? You know what I mean? Blanche and
Blanche.
or
funny that somebody always forgets somebody that could be name everybody. Yeah. Gilligan's Island.
Charlotte, Samantha, and my girlfriend's into different things than I am. So, if I don't have the facts, I could end up in the emergency room, that I could end up with stuff on my chest. 2 minutes later, I couldn't think of the third. I couldn't think of the lesbian character on Sex and the City, and so the next thing I know, I'm in the I'm strapped to a gurney in the emergency room because I couldn't think of Charlotte's name because I blanked on Charlotte. That would be something really. That's something funny about that,
Yeah.
Because that's it. No, don't even make it your girlfriend. Make it. An EMT or somebody I blacked out or something, and then they started asking me random.
No, I want to make it a real story about my girlfriend because it's about our relationship. I don't want to go to like some made up thing where I'm in a hospital and I don't.
Okay, then that's easy. Then you just go. My girlfriend asked me that. That would be the worst thing.
No, the way you had it is perfect. Just you ever have your you want to not feel like a rock star? Have your girl give you a stroke test. At like 9 a.m. in the morning because you can't get the harness on the dog. Boom, and just kind of like But that's what I was missing was like I could tell by your face you didn't know where I was going with it, and so I think you have to explain it a little bit.
Yeah,
and explaining it is in the phrase stroke test.
Yeah. And then I think you have to. I think you have to make that clear. Yeah, you have to make that as clear as possible, and then get to and then you could do anything with that. I hate to think that was the defining. Is this how we're evaluating medical conditions now? That's. I'd hate the way.
like a bank question,
Yeah.
like your favorite pet when you were a child. Like
Right. Your mother's maiden name. It's
Yeah.
now like what was the lesbian character on this? What I don't know. Like what the hell? All right, get in the van, get in the ambulance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
That's funny. Well, just combining. Well, it's too many questions. Everything is too many questions. And then it could kind of get into that stuff, which is a little hacky, but a lot of people are doing that lately on, what's the name of your pet, childhood pet and favorite.
Yeah, no, don't. I wouldn't do that. I would just,
Yeah.
avoid that. But say your mother's, because that just takes it into another question thing. It does. So you want the stroke test, like your
test.
girlfriend is asking me to make sure that I'm lucid. She's asking me these random questions, but
yeah, she's like, "Who's the president?" I'm like, "Elon Musk." She's like, "Okay, you're fine."
Okay, good, you're fine. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, who's the president? Elon Musk. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, we're
You're
good.
fine. You're fine. You're good.
All right, you're fine. You're fine. Okay, that's really funny. Who played the second lead? Name three of the kids on which. Oh God, something about Friends or Sex in the City, probably.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So it's, I think I'm headed in the right direction with it. But but it's just funny. Like you never feel old until those moments happen, and you're like, dude. I can't have an off day without just going straight to stroke test. Come on.
Yeah, come on. Really?
It's got to be a little bit of, something in between there. Yeah.
Right. There's a big cavern between senior moment and hospice care,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Can we give me some latitude here? Okay. Wait.
Yeah. Could we have something like To the Notebook, like that movie?
No, but that's really fun. There's so much possibility there because when you think about it, that's really interesting because when you think about it, I remember when I was depressed and I went to see, they gave me a test where they had asked me questions to see if I should go on antidepressant meds. Mm. And the questions are just unbelievable. Like you almost, it's such medical malpractice.
Yeah.
Do you cry at movies?
Yes, especially if sports are involved. Yes.
Yeah. No, but I mean, that's literally was one of the qualifications or the evaluations. Like, have you cried at movies? And I think I did a joke about it once where I said, not ordinarily, but I did see Field of Dreams, and I think they're still mopping up the theater. Okay, but that's true. They ask you do you get sad in the morning? Yeah, I do. Okay. Do you okay, well then hook them up to an IV. That's like the most random. It's like Pfizer. They just got it down, man. They just tell the doctors, you want to get your stipend this month. You got to hook 8 guys on this.
Well, it's funny though. I feel like the kind of the medical world is very much like the religious world, where just these men have created this system and this path that we all kind of assume is the way you're supposed to do things. You know what I mean? Like even with psychiatry and stuff, it's you look at a blot painting or something, and it's like if you see a butterfly, then you're schizophrenic. If you see a thing, you're like, who's saying where are you getting this? Like you're just making it up, you're just making it all up.
This is a great run of bits if you really wanted to go there.
But this is more you. But it's because it's actrix stuff. But it's like you're looking at a thing and you're just like it's like what it's like I don't know. I see an alligator. Does that make me bipolar? I don't know. Just something.
Right. You say the wrong. You don't know basic zoology, and then the next thing you know, you're in a straitjacket. Because that's this is how we evaluate. I mean,
everything, even positive stuff, like an IQ test. Don't give me that. That's the only way to prove if somebody's smart or not. I'm not good at tests, but I bet I'm smarter than most people that are taking these things. Saying, I got a 160 or whatever. I don't know. There's just something about tests and things and this stuff. The system is just it's nonsense. It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense.
Very strange. There's a certain standard of what we define as either normal, intelligent, it's like you could be a brilliant musician who's really bad at this kind of other stuff or whatever, but your mind works in a different way, and basically you could be committed because you're nuts, right?
No, well, like my brother, it's like he could barely speak the English language, but he could take a carburetor apart and put it back together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like I can't do that. You know,
right.
That's pretty smart. I mean, to figure that out, but it's it's just an interesting way. Just that they've
I always thought it was,
they've shaped everything in a way that.
Well, I always thought it was funny that like if you can hit a ball with a bat, I always thought it was fascinating that you could. And I always wanted to write a bit about it, but I never had anything even remotely funny. It was just an interesting like if you could hit a ball with a bat, which is a random and pretty useless skill set. Right, like in on a desert island, you'd be the last guy. Gilligan would be more entertaining and more fun to have around than Ted Williams.
Unless you could hit that monkey in the tree and then eat the monkey.
Right. If you had that, but that's a really. If you're going to hit the coconut out of the tree, yes, you might be worth something. Right?
You gotta figure out how to use your skill. That's funny.
Right. There's something but very weird that a skill that we reward with stardom, celebrity, money, fame, riches, women is like I can hit this ball over that, and it's like, well, wait a minute, what is the use to society? Is that like, and there were people before baseball was invented who might have had a skill like that. But nobody knows because I could hit this ball, but nobody cared because there was nothing. There's no stadium. There was no game.
Yeah, they were just the mafia and just hitting heads with bats. That's how many lost Italians could have been like Cy Young winners.
That's really funny. No, MVP, batting,
Nancy Patras or what is
right.
it? Mattress.
That would be really funny. What's the guy?
Tommy Two-Tone.
No, but name a famous mafia hitman like Luca Brasi.
Yeah,
Luca I mean, but that's but somebody like that you could.
That's perfect for you.
War? Yeah. Luca Brasi's. What was his on base percentage or WAR or whatever those freaking weird statistics? Wins over replacement. That was a skill set that at one time.
One season he had four heads were rolling. Bam, bam, bam. Right. He could have been I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something dumb there. I don't even know. I don't. Whatever.
It's all lucid. It's lucid material. It opens gates to other material.
Yeah, I guess.
I guess. What are you talking about? This is beautiful. This is poetry. This is art.
Well, this is what I'm wrestling with. Is like I bring the same. I have this list of bits that I'm working on. And it seems, I don't know how you feel about this, but how do you feel about this? Like we got to come up with new bits. And it's like, no, I got to fix the ones that I already have. Like I have 7 pieces that are still messy and need honing. I can't introduce.
I don't know. I think we're supposed to let them go. I think we're supposed to kind of like be okay with them just floating in the world they're floating in. You know what I mean? I think it's like everybody that's a big comic, I feel like, they probably, I'm sure they look back on stuff and say, wow, I wish I'd fixed that a little more. But then it's like, I got this hour I got to put out for, Netflix or whatever. So I feel like we all, no, it's a different, it's tough. I think club comics in general, which I call myself that as well, where I feel like we kind of sit in a set a little too long. And I think the guys that are, the bigger guys usually kind of, the Louis C.K.'s and whatnot, to kind of, cut it and go. And so,
well, okay, but that's the question that's an interesting question. Is like, when is it up to par? Because I honestly have like 1 or 2 pieces and they're, 6 or a 7. And I
don't think most people think like you. You're a rarity. You're the only comic I've ever met in my entire life as a 20-year vet comedian that thinks like you, where you really are obsessed with the perfection of the bit. Like most people
Right.
don't have that. And that's why you're such a good comic. But I'm just saying it is something that is, you're like, it's like,
Oh well, it's destructive.
It is destructive. But you'll paint like the Mona Lisa and be like, I should have added blue, and you're like, no, it's fine, dude. It's fine. You don't need blue. It's fine.
I know, but it doesn't feel that way to me.
You're fine.
See,
Start your
I know,
still
but
life.
it doesn't feel that way to me.
No,
like
I know. That's why I'm saying you're the only person that I know that thinks like that. Most comics don't think like this. You're not like a regular comic dude in that sense.
Wow.
In that sense, you are in every other way. But
no, I know.
way.
I know that this is a compliment in most ways. I do like hear you and I go, oh, thank you. That's really nice. And I do know that I have that quality. I do know I'm over perfectionistic, but even I have pieces that I go, oh, that's done now. It's not like I do that with everything. What Women Want's done. CNN guy done. Stephen Hawking.
Most of your bits, I feel like most of them will come back at some point, and you'll want to retag and add, which is good because I think you're very good at updating jokes, which I think a lot of people do not do. And like you'll add a new reference or a new way to present it, or what's something that happened in the news, and then it revitalizes it and whatnot. But it's really fun. This is funny to me. Like I wonder if like Paul McCartney's like, yeah, that last line of "Let It Be." Maybe it should have been.
I know. Yeah. I should have.
Like you'll make money off of these bits, and you've dropped them on things and TV or whatever, and then you'll still think to yourself, I think I could have, And I think it's a sickness of that's good. It makes you good. It makes you great, but it's also. It's it could.
That's the thing. That's the thing. I think I know what you're saying, and yet I recognize, like I've been doing certain jokes for a long time, and then suddenly they'll morph into, oh my God, that's the way that joke is. That's what that joke.
I think organically that happens for sure.
But I feel like it goes really slowly with me. Like it takes a long. Like I've been doing that Starbucks bit, and it's really a killer bit, but it's a total mess, and I still don't even know. Like I still go, oh no, the wording's still off on that place and this that, and one. I know that I'm going to crack it. But it just seems to take a long time, and it annoys me. Like it's just I don't know how other people. I don't think. And then Seinfeld said 2 years he worked on the Pop-Tart thing, or 3 years, or something like that. And I just go, oh, really? Like, and I believe that.
Yeah.
I really believe
I think he works differently now. Like I think he's looser than he used to be. I saw him recently and felt like it didn't seem as like 90s Seinfeld stand up. It was more like, my wife says this the other day and a thing, and I'm on the thing. And it's like, it's more conversational than it used to be. It used to be very tight and very precise. And I feel now it's a little more, I'm getting old and social media and
it's more conversational. Definitely it's more conversational.
It's different than, it's but I think it's I think every artist has, their way of doing it. I have some jokes that I feel are good and they work or whatever, but it's like my dream is to not do anything I'm doing now. Every day I hope I get a bit that I can just not do that bit, even if it's good. I get mad at myself when I have to like go into something that's old. I would rather just God, please just let this new thing happen. That's that works.
Okay, but what qualifies as old? Like what is it?
If it's on something, it's on something. It's like on an album, on a special.
Got it.
Anything that's like been recorded and dropped.
Right.
I feel like is old.
Yeah.
And it's anything that's not is new and fresh. Even if it's 3 years old, if it's not on something, it's fine. It's just like it's just when you've dropped it on. A broadcast of some sort. It's running on an album. Then it's like I feel guilty. I feel guilty putting it out, but it's also, as comics, it's our tool belt. When we play these kind of, mid-level type, gigs and clubs, and I'm not worried so much about my artistic integrity at a VFW. Like
Right. Right.
I'm gonna do the dry bar set.
Yeah. Sure.
But when I'm at a club in the city or whatever, I want to have something new and fresh or whatever, and then. But then sometimes it goes terribly wrong. I did a set the other night, and I had kind of had a little meltdown because I was more thinking about the back of the room as opposed to the moment of the material and being in the moment and like being able to kind of like make it work. And so you just get it's the insecurity and the psychological part of the comedy thing. But yeah, no, it's, I mean, the ideal set is you do something that works, that's old or whatever, that gets them to like you, and then in the middle you pop, and then you close with something that is going to work, and then you call it a day.
I get really like annoyed, and I get sick of the fact that I'm opening with this thing, and it's kind of scripted, and I'm going to do it over, but then when I deviate from that, when I go, I'm going to go up and play and be loosey goosey. Sometimes it's like, that doesn't work, and then your new bits are screwed, right?
Yeah.
It's like then you can't do the new bits because you've already tanked your set, and that is really bothers me. Like I do see these guys sometimes that seem like they're just riffing and going on stage, and I go, damn, I can't. I can sometimes do that, but most of the time I have to go on, and I sort of feel like I have to stick to the program, and then I can play and do some new stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's it has a lot to do with just it's funny. I want to write this thing. I'm trying to do a video series on how to lose a crowd in 10 seconds, and it's basically it's just the idea of like just a little moment. I had one video that I'm trying to do where it's just like trashing on the room too early. Like that's something that if they don't like you yet, and you're just like, look at this place. What is it? Cracked in TGI Fridays. And then like, meanwhile, the owner like took out 2 mortgages,
Right. Great.
Just to have this crappy place. And so, just like, things like that. But it's just like little pivotal moments of starting and like trying to connect to them that we miss, and
this is interesting
or whatever.
This is interesting because like at Dangerfields, which is no longer Dangerfields, the Dangerfields closed, reopened as Rodney's, different club, but totally different atmosphere there. And at Dangerfields, I had some of the best Dangerfields jokes about the room itself and decor that were killer. And it was so tempting every set because I would go on, and the Dangerfields room, it. I would go, folks, I love, let's take it. I love working here. I would open with this a lot, and it would crush every time. And I felt guilty because it was so scripted and perfectly worded. It took me a long. I would say, look around, folks. This is a take in the decor. What were they thinking? What was they brought a decorator in. They said, what look do you think we should go for? And he said, how about the inside of a coffin? Okay, because it had the black drapes. Okay, it had the black drapes on the wall.
I don't think I ever saw this. That's amazing.
Oh yeah,
I
said, how about the inside? Something, the inside of a coffin. Something, we want a funeral parlor, and it was killer, right? Like the audience would just roar, right? Like, and every time I would go on, you know how that feeling that you feel like the help has seen you a million times and the bartender.
Sure.
So when you do that, you have this little cringy moment of like, oh, see, he knows I'm going to do the inside of a coffin joke, and I would feel guilty, but then I would be able, but that would get the audience so in the moment because they would go, oh my God, he's right. And I would say, I want a funeral parlor, something where the Munsters would, live or something, like something.
Well, I think you're the level of comic that's acceptable. And I think it's like, it has a lot to do with, depending on, the vibe of, your connection to the audience or whatever. But you as a comic is, a level that can get away with that. But I see like young guys try to do it, and you're just like, all right, dude, this is the best gig you got all year, and you're going to make fun of this place.
Right. Right. Yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
It's what you're and then, like Tony probably wouldn't care that you did that. But if somebody, Tony being the owner of the club, but if somebody else had got up there that was, not funny or auditioning or something, it would just not be is good.
But
that's
but
hilarious,
I always had that psychological thing in my head where I was like, if I go on and do that joke, I know that it's going to get a huge laugh every time, 100%, almost never failed, like almost never failed. And then, but I felt guilty because I was like, oh God, I'm going to do the inside of a coffin joke, now, like for the 80th time that I know is going to work. And I felt like as an artist, I should be risking more, I shouldn't go up.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You just like, it's like we're either plumbers or we're artists. And when you're a plumber, sometimes you got to pull out that wrench that works. And you're just like, all right, let's do it. Click, click, click. And here we go. It's done.
I know. And it's a funny thing because if I do that joke, then I go, that opens the door to doing the new bits after that. But if I wing it up front and it doesn't work, which it may not, because there's nothing as powerful as that, is that joke. Nothing killed as hard as that joke. Nothing I could say on stage could kill in that room as hard as that one line, right?
Yeah.
And so I would just be like, oh, maybe I should, but then I was like, Brian, stick to the program, then play. Okay. But then I would feel like, maybe, but no, isn't I going to grow as an artist if shouldn't I be winging it? Yeah.
I mean, you see people do that and they're good at it, or they have a fan base, or depending on just there's a lot of elements there. It's funny, lately I've been opening with a Dangerfield story when it's a small crowd, because like if it's like 10 15 people or whatever, I said this is actually not the smallest crowd. I did a show one time at Dangerfield's in New York City, and I got on stage and there were 2 girls in the crowd, and then 3 minutes in they both went to the bathroom at the same time, so I was literally on stage talking to myself.
Right, that's hilarious.
I crushed, but
that's great. That's really funny,
and it's something I use when it's a small crowd, because it's like I've been up here when there's no people, and so it makes it a fun little light. It's okay that there's 15, and then I can kind of get into the whole thing. So it's a light and it feels real. And it's a story, and I name it.
It's great. No, but that's one of those things where you got that in your back pocket, and you go, when you're faced with this, it's like I always tell young comics, have small crowd jokes, because you're going to face that a lot.
Original ones. Yeah.
The original ones, of course.
But a lot of people do the stock. Stock never sounds good. All
right, give me the stock. What's the stock thing for?
We could have done this in a cab, or, I don't know. It just feels like they heard it from another comic. You know what I mean? When you hear comics like,
yeah, of course.
Or you should never do it if somebody did it before you, because the crowd should only get a taste. That they shouldn't get but it how it does. I mean, come on, a typical night of like 12 people in a crowd, every single comic makes fun of the fact that there's no people, and then the audience feels like, well, why are we here? Like, this is the worst. There's why? Yeah, this is true.
But you don't know what the other comics have done. When you walk in,
that's the problem.
I've noticed this. I've noticed this because I have. You don't know, like you go. I have noticed. You go on stage, and I have several of those small crowd jokes. Mine is, I think I say sometimes, I had more people in my Uber pool. So it's an update of the cab thing, right? Like I had more people in my Uber, but I've had more people in one. Do you realize if I had a puppet, I would outnumber you guys almost, right? There's stuff like that. Yeah.
People love puppets.
So stuff like that, and I very rarely, when I do those jokes, I very rarely get pushback from the crowd, like, oh, we've heard a million jokes like that for whatever reason. And I know somebody must have done it.
Sure.
But as long as you've got something original and it isn't the same joke that somebody else has done, I think it's okay, because you do have to kind of, call it out, or unless somebody already has, maybe they,
Well, I think we do it more for ourselves than it's just like, it's almost like we need to do it so we can get into the set.
Right.
And I don't think the crowd necessarily needs it, but we sometimes feel we need to say it so we can kind of like shake it off and then get into the comedy.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's because it's in our head. And so,
Right.
but sometimes the audience doesn't need it. I've heard many audiences where they just like, but I have heard a lot of them go, God, every comic said that. But so it's like, it could go either way, depending on the comic. Obviously, yours are going to be a little more tight and whatever. But, I don't know. There's just something about like, yeah, I've noticed a lot of audiences, like a lot of times, I have a tendency to kind of comment, on how I'm doing on stage, and it's not necessary. Or sometimes I'm wrong. I know the comic, I've seen comics kill, but they have bomb lines. And then you're just like, dude, you don't need that. We talked about this before. And it's just like, they'll drop it anyway. I'm like, dude, you're not bombing. You don't need that bomb line. So, but a lot of times, yeah, the audience will see me and I'll, they'll be like, did you like us? Like a guy, an audience, was at a club and they were saying, you look like you weren't having fun on stage. Like, I was having a great time, like, it's just, this is just me,
I know we're such wounded animals that we whip out these bomb lines when the audience likes us because we're either so sensitive, so insecure, or it's robotic. It's in your act and it's part of who you are. I've seen that so many times and I've done it, where comics go on stage and they'll trash their set because they're overly joking about how they're not doing well when they actually are doing well.
Yeah. I mean, I have very bad comedy ears, and it's like I'm really trying to work on it, and therapy, everything. Like I have to stop it. And you see certain comics, especially successful ones, where they don't hear the audience hardly at all. Like Chappelle, like that level, like they're not tuned into that at all.
No,
like they're just up there and they're dropping these like personal moments and like getting into their, like, talk about the playing and the painting on stage. Like they're just doing all of that. And then meanwhile, I'm like, nothing. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
it's like, okay. All right. And pivoting and trying to get them and whatever, where it's like some guys just, they stick to the script, they stick to the thing. And it's just like, and it's like, I envy that because I just don't have it in me because being a club comic out of New York City, you're only as good as your last set. And you may not get booked that week if you had two bombs in a row on an early and a late show. So you got to bring it. You got to bring your A game. You're following Will Sylvance and his Haitian bit or whoever, and it's like you got you got to get in there and you got to it's like eye the tiger and come on, let's do this. And it's just like it's just like it's good and bad. It's good because
I'm always amazed
strong.
I'm always amazed at the guys who can stand on stage and they can kind of bomb without calling it out or making fun of it or even
it's unbelievable.
That sitting in that space, like I always keep a riff going and I keep calling it out
something. Yeah, crowd work, something. I'm gonna get you to make that noise that's supposed to come out of your mouth. Like I'm not. You're not gonna stare at me. You might hate me at the end, but you're gonna. But I got some laughs.
Yeah, I had a show. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had a show this week that I miscalculated on my opener and alienated them and could not get them back. Okay. No matter what I did, everything was, and that is, people don't talk about that, but that is like if you miscalculate, you can alienate a crowd and lower your goodwill level to such an extent. That's what I was saying.
Lose a crowd in 10 seconds. Yeah, exactly. Yep. That's what I was
and you can try to rally, and no matter how funny your material is, you'll get that laugh. You'll get that, oh, that's good. But they hate you, right? They don't like you. You've done something. You've violated them. They feel they don't trust you, and so they don't go with you on the journey. And I did that this week. Yeah. But instead of sitting, I did not sit in the silence though.
No,
I just kept talking.
Scott McFadden, are you kidding me?
No, I just kept talking because because I sometimes get so scared if I sit. I'll get, if that happens, which it doesn't happen very often, when it does, it's that awkward feeling of like someone is going to yell, "You're not funny," or "You suck," or where's the comedian coming out, or what, like. You know,
I know.
In fact, Dustin, I just went back through my notes and somebody yelled at another comedian one time.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody yelled, "When's the comedian coming out?"
Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst of all of them. That's
right.
terrible.
And I went home, and you know what I did? I said, if somebody says that to me, I'm going to have a retort for that, right? So I went home and said, because that's a good one. And I said, and I think it was something like, when's the comedian coming out? I think let me find out. Yeah, he's almost done in your mom in the coat room. Okay. I think it was something like that. Like something, I went so low, right? As soon as he's done in your mom in the coat room. Okay. That I said, okay.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah.
Like I wrote that down. I sat down and I said, I need something for that. Right. Like,
yeah. That's great. That's perfect. That's like, it's like you get, that's how traumatizing this is, that we have lines for the trauma,
I know. I mean, that is really, really, and I remember one night going, what's the worst thing somebody could say? And I want to have a retort for that.
Next is really bad.
Next. Yeah, I guess next is good.
Nobody wants that from like a young person or something.
Next.
Or, because we all want to be hip and whatever. And when a young person does it, it makes us feel like we're 80 years old and we made a bad choice in our career.
Comedians say that the comics, I was sitting with a bunch of comics one time and they said that the toughest one that they don't, and maybe it's not, I don't know. What's your thoughts on this? But the toughest one was the guy like Eddie Murphy in The Nutty Professor when he's laughing really hard, sarcastically at the guy. Like when Buddy Love is laughing, when Buddy Love is sticking it to Chappelle and he's going, whoa, you are the man, you the man. Like that, when you hear that, and that's a lot of work for somebody, and it very rarely happens that somebody is doing that, the Buddy Love thing. But to me, to somebody said, oh, when a guy does that, that's the toughest thing to deal with, where somebody is
that's bad. That's bad. I mean, anything that's happened at a prom show is still with me to this day.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah.
Any heckle from a 15-year-old feels worse than anything from anybody else.
Yeah.
I've had guys make duck noises and ridiculous stuff, and it's anything that feels. I always say I'm okay. The worst one is only one that's bad. You can say a lot of things to me, and I might even be okay with it. And even if it's a kind of off edge or whatever, and you're kind of like, ruining the moment, my momentum or whatever, I'm still okay with it. Even if you're stepping on a punchline, but like you could yell out, you can call me whatever. But when you talk to another person and when you're having a conversation and I can hear that conversation, that's when I lose it. When you're talking to each other, and you're ignoring the show and treating me like, I'm just background. That's when I go crazy, but if you say something to me like you suck or whatever, like that's terrible. And most of the time I can kind of make that a jab and we can kind of spar. But when you're just like, you've checked out and you're talking about your reservations to the restaurant or whatever, I'm going to lose it. That's when I'll probably get banned from the club.
Right. But to me, see, that doesn't bother me as much as the openly hostile thing. For you, I can see that, and I can see that like for other comedians, I hear when it annoys the fuck out of me. Don't get me wrong, I hate it. But it doesn't
So it's like I felt my whole life has been that.
What's that?
Youngest child, like just being ignored.
Oh, right, okay, right. So they're talking, because I feel like I have material for that. Where I was going, these people don't even know there's a show going on. There's a conversation, and I mimic them. What do you think we should do after this? And this is
I'll be like, this is not not a movie. I can hear you. I'll do stuff like that.
This
is not Netflix. You can't pause me and have a full conversation. Like I'm here. I'm a live person. I'll literally touch them. Look, touch me. I'm real. I'm a person. I know you're not used to real people talking in public. But I'm not on a phone right now. So I'm skilled in it, but it still annoys me. And it depending on, how therapeutic, my week has been. It depends on what Dustin you're gonna get. You might get worked on himself, good place Dustin, or you might get like redneck family, addict, crazy meltdown Dustin. You don't know.
Right.
You don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, redneck damage Dustin.
Call your sponsor. You might get call your sponsor Dustin. You might get relapse Dustin. You don't know who you're gonna get.
Right. I'm going to drink some whiskey after this, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I drank the whiskey, but I might as well have drank it, Like, it's the same behavior. Like, I have, that's the thing. When you're an addict, you still can have the same addict behavior. Sure. Nobody talks about that. I can still be a drunk without the booze.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Because I still have hangovers, so.
Well, we all have our, I did a prom show. Speaking of prom shows, I did a prom show where the guy yelled, I said, so I was on MTV, which I was, and the guy yelled, bull. Okay. And I was told that I couldn't curse.
No, okay.
And this particular show, like, and it wasn't at Dangerfields. It was literally at someone's prom, right? And it was the worst gig I ever had. It still traumatizes me to this day. And I think I talked about it on an earlier podcast where somebody from the prom, grown up now, he's in his 20s or 30s, and said, I was at you were at my prom, right? I felt so bad for you, right? Like it was a terrible gig. It was like, but I remember saying, I was on MTV thinking it would ingratiate me with them. And a kid yelled, bull, and they had told me I couldn't curse. And so that kid yelled that out, and I looked over and I went, and I tried to make light of it and go, oh, he's big, I won't fuck with him. I was making a joke, and they handed me a note saying, get off. Right. Because I had cursed. I said, don't fuck with him. And I thought, and then they laughed when I said, don't fuck with him. Yeah. But of course the parents freaked out and said, get the hell off the stage. It's like, oh my God, what industry am I in?
That's so funny. I did a camp show for Gotham Comedy Club, and it was like a nooner, and at the club, and I had a few beers, and then I took a beer on stage and at a camp show. And I'm just like drinking the beer and talking. Okay. Chris Mazzilli walks up. I'm in the middle of my set and just grabs the beer out of my hand.
Oh my God! Wait, because they were kids and they're not allowed to drink. Like.
I love it that's like you're confused by that. Yeah, I shouldn't be drinking a beer while I'm performing for 11-year-olds.
Okay, I mean, I don't think you should be performing for 11-year-olds. Period. You know what I mean? What are 11-year-olds doing at a comedy club? So I'm lost already. You've
never done a nooner? You've never done a camp show in New York City? A nooner, like when there's like young kids, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds?
When you mention it. I think I did. I did all voices and funny voices at Gotham. I think I did one of those.
Come on, dude. Especially before we were actually cast at clubs. Like that was.
It's just been so long that I forgot.
Yeah, I didn't do it last week.
Yeah.
But like 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
But I love the fact that you were drinking for the 11. Yeah.
I used to have a problem, Brian, and that's the joke where I was just like, he literally took it out of my hand.
That's a symbolic representation.
I like this. Was a deep, but behind the scenes. It was a good one today. I like it.
Yeah. We got a deep behind the scenes.
Yeah, we got it in there. All right. I got to take off. All right. Yeah, we got a podcast house. Like I do a podcast, and then she's got to do one.
Oh, okay.
So we got to alternate. We got to I got to take off. It's a whole thing. All right.
I'll leave this on just in case there's an upload that needs to take place.
Bye, everybody. Follow us. Get us out there. This is the best podcast you're not listening to.
Yeah.
And when it comes to stand-up comedy, nobody is giving this. Yeah. We're giving you meat and potatoes.
Well, folks, that's our show. It's time for us to go. Make sure to follow us. Give us a like. Drop us a comment and always subscribe. We're chasing comedy on all the socials. We hope you had a gas, had some laughs, and maybe you learned something too. Until next time, we're Brian and Dustin, and we're chasing comedy.